From Berlin to Boston, there is no escaping the trauma of September the 11th. The talk of war dominates public life, and it's reshaping global politics. For many, there is an overwhelming sense the world has changed forever. London is one of the great European capitals, a city that's seen its share of war and terrorism. And that's where the National senior correspondent Brian Stewart went to talk to historians and writers to ask them, how has the world changed?
Go in over here.
Nothing in history really prepared us for September the 11th, or the spreading dread that we've lost all bearings.
As a historian, one starts trying to put it in some kind of historical perspective. It is very difficult to think of anything really comparable, if only because of the immediate global impact of this on the entire world within a matter of minutes.
There's no escape. In London, there are all the signs the West had been at the height of a uniquely prosperous era. But what now? American tourists are gone. Hotels seem half empty. Restaurants emptier still. Police warn this city could be the next terror target. There's been a run on gas masks here and chemical protection suits. Friends don't like using the underground, a prized target. Especially at night, one can't imagine slipping into an age of formless anxiety.
Amazing place. The whole history of Yugoslavia is strewn around here. Tito's war memoirs, photographs of the Marshal.
Canadian writer and philosopher Michael Ignatieff has been as close an observer as anyone of the nationalist, religious, cultural wars of modern time.
This is Vukovar. I've seen a lot of ruins in the last couple of days, but this is just beyond anything I've seen before.
From the Balkans to Africa to the Gulf. Though living in London, he's currently teaching at Harvard in the U.S. In everything you've seen, in the conflicts you've gone through and studied, had anything you've seen prepared you for a horror like this, or given you any insight into the kind of mind that could commit it?
We are looking, I think, at a kind of apocalyptic fanaticism. By apocalyptic, I mean a political program that's also a religious program that's aimed at purifying Islam, purifying the world of evil. What's so appalling about this is, to the degree that we can discern a terrorist cell behind this, these people are playing God, and they're playing God with other people's lives. And that apocalyptic fanaticism is a genuinely frightening phenomenon, because the minute you describe what you're supposed to do to meet apocalyptic fanaticism, you come up short, because these are people who do not fear death. These are people who play God. These are people who've got all the time in the world. And that means a dedication that we can scarcely fathom. It also means that these are people who significantly have received flight training in the West, gone to a university in Hamburg, are essentially part of Western society. They've modernized. They've joined the modern world, using the modern technology, using the best of modern education to turn it against the project of modernity itself. And that complex of ancient religious apocalyptic goals with modern technology really puts us in a new place, a new world.
This new world will almost certainly see a form of Allied military action once targets are identified. Risky, difficult operations that much of the public throughout the West seem ready to support.
It's a kind of moral perfectionism, if I may say so, to think that a country like the United States, which has lost 5,000 plus civilians, many military personnel, 4 aircraft, is going to sit there and be contented with police measures and judicial measures against an enemy that has simply shown no pity and no mercy, and is a real threat to the viability of international commercial aviation and a real threat to the viability of international finance. This attacks direct, vital strategic interests. The United States will reply. What we as allies and friends and citizens have to do is use the democratic dialogue to say, get it right.
But even more difficult may be the responsibility of fearful societies to remain tolerant and free as security is squeezed ever tighter. It's a pretty dismal start to the 21st century we're witnessing now. What really should we be thinking about as we go forward now?
I think we need to regain our nerve. I mean, the simple truth is we've been defeated. The United States has suffered, our ally and friend has suffered the most serious military defeat since the Second World War. That shakes everything up. But we have the means, we have the persistence, we have the will, we have the technology, and we have the values to slowly prevail. Let's grind this problem down with legally appropriate and morally appropriate means. We are not looking, I think, at an endless battle, but we're looking at a long one. But, you know, when I think back to the things that my parents faced during the Second World War, frankly, this is small beer. It's our time to stand up and be counted, and I'm sure we'll be found entirely up to the job.
Finally, seeking comfort, many in London have laid flowers and flags on one person's statue in particular, U.S. President Franklin Roosevelt, whose message echoes in history.
Certain values, I think, lead us in the right direction, and, you know, forgive the cliche, but it is deeply true. It's organized my whole life. It's what Franklin Roosevelt said: we have nothing to fear but fear itself. In other words, the enemy that's really terrifying is inside ourselves. We have to get control of the fear, fight the fear, and, you know, decide we are citizens and we are not afraid.
September the 11th shook Europe, and still London has witnessed enough of history to know any fragile calm could be shattered by terror attack or military action at any moment. These are waiting days. For The National, I'm Brian Stewart in London.